2, 1. Let's go. Welcome to the Fiction Addiction Podcast, a podcast where we go one-on-one with fiction creators, such as authors, filmmakers, actors, songwriters, and more. Each episode, we get the inside scoop on our guests' creative process, the ups and downs of their industries, and our guests also give out tips and tricks that help them become successful. And now, let's jump into the episode with your host, Chris C.L. Lowry.
All right. Welcome back to the Fiction Addiction Podcast. My next guest came into this world in the great year of 1980, and her life has been a whirlwind of adventure ever since. She loves books and has been an avid reader since her school-age years. Writing has always been a part of her life, but she never thought it would take her to the position that she is in now. When she isn't writing, she has a full-time career as a registered nurse. Working her way up the ladder, her nursing career began as a certified nursing assistant and licensed practical nurse. She has always had a passion for helping others, as her mother was a nurse. In addition to writing, she loves to read, go to the beach, and also draw and sketch. She aspires to become a screenwriter as well as a movie director, and currently resides in Florida with her 2 children and her Shih Tzu, Brown AKA Brownie. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Carmele McGriff. Sarah, what's going on?
Oh, not much. It's just so thankful and blessed to be a part of this opportunity, and I thank you for the interview. I appreciate it.
I appreciate your time. So, first and foremost, 2020 has to be one of the most scary, emotional, unpredictable years ever. There is so much going on, from the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic to the continuation of racism and social injustice that seemed to explode after the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Sharp Crooks, so many others at the hand of police officers, both former and current. So how are you managing through everything that's going on, not only as a Black woman, but as a mother and as one of our essential workers, our frontline heroes during this pandemic?
You know, it's so hard to stay away from these topics, especially when you're bombarded with them on a daily basis, especially with social media, and then you're out here working in the field with, some of your clients or patients that look just like you that are going through the situation. So, I mean, it's just, and it can wreak havoc on your mental health, your mental strength, your, and just your whole physical being. Because once your mental capacities break down, then the whole body starts breaking down. And so I get up every morning, I pray. I have an 18-year-old son, and I fear for his life. Whenever he leaves this house, I'm constantly praying over him. I'm telling him to watch his surroundings. I'm telling him to be careful about how he approaches people, because, this is a rough time. People are on the edge. You don't know what's going on in a person's life right now. I mean, they could just be that one little thing that could just set someone off, and we can, you have another Ahmaud Arbery incident, or another George Floyd incident, or another Breonna Taylor incident. Not just with the police, but with anybody in general, whether it be African American or Caucasian or any other race. So, it's imperative that we as a society, we just be mindful of other people, be respectful, just try to keep the hatred and, the racism and everything to a minimum. But it's hard to do that when we're living in a society where we have a leader who is perpetuating a lot of, this white supremacy, thinking that it's okay for, certain people to talk down or harass or, come at minorities in a way where, there's little to no consequences and repercussions for it. So, it's important for African Americans to talk to the people, to talk to each other, to talk to our communities and the people in our communities, and just keep them mindful of their surroundings and what's going on with them. And it's really bad. It's really hard already for African Americans. We're highest in unemployment. We don't have health insurance, and then you have all this other stuff going on. It makes the situation worse. I mean, you just
Right,
have people that's
absolutely.
on the edge and at a breaking point, and you just have to, despite everything, 2020 is not over yet. I mean, it seems like every month
it needs to be
always happening. Exactly. It's like every month or every day, something's always happening.
Something. Always
Like, and you're sitting back like, how, you're sitting back, well, how worse can, this get? We got now July,
right.
and they were looking into August. So I'm sitting like, I was telling my friend today, well, I wonder what's going to happen in August. I'm just waiting around to see what kind of catastrophe is going to happen in August. I'm like, I'm hoping and praying that it goes up from here. But man, we've been hit with every whammy that just unthinkable. Like, it just a small little virus just brought everybody down to his knees. To their knees.
Whole world. Yeah.
Yes.
What has been one of the most surprising things this year, in your opinion? Because I know it's so much. It's the unemployment rate. That's just ridiculous how high it is. You know what I mean? Some places closing businesses for good. All the deaths, even all the deaths that are occurring, just, oh my gosh, like this year. So what is one of the most surprising things that has taken you back this year?
What has really taken me back is the number, the demographics of the people that I take care of in the hospitals at this moment. People would think that this whole coronavirus thing is affecting the elderly. I mean, it is, but it's also affecting, our 20 to 49-year-old population in drastic ways. This past weekend when I worked, all of my patients were in their 40s and 50s.
Really?
With coronavirus. We had to actually send one to, not putting out personal information of that, but one guy we had to send to ICU because he just was unable to breathe. We're intubating these young people at this age, at this young age. They're being intubated. They can't breathe. There's it's really rough right now, and this is something that we're used to seeing in elderly people whose systems are already compromised. But it's just crazy how this virus has really completely taken over and doing detrimental damages to young people. And people need to understand, this is not a joke. We're not, it behooves me how I'm seeing people on television, or people are upset because, their rights are being infringed on because they are forced to wear a mask, or they're forced to quarantine and all of this.
It's crazy, right?
It is crazy. Because
like, it's a health issue. Like, it's crazy.
Yes. I mean, if you see what I see every day, you will want to put on a mask. You will want to stay home.
Right.
You will not want to be out just socializing just to be socializing. I mean, you can go out, do what you need to do that's pertinent, and then you come back home, because people are dying. And I mean, and they're dying at alarming rates. And until you see what I see, or the healthcare workers, and I mean, it's sad. We're overwhelmed. We're overworked. We're understaffed. It's very stressful. It's a lot to take on and to deal with. And then when healthcare workers go home, they still have to deal with, the stresses at home, their families. They might be dealing with, a spouse or children who are sick or may have lost, their job, and they're not able to, adequately provide. But it's just really, it's sad. It just saddens me how young people in this hospital that I'm seeing right now in these hospitals, and it's not getting any better. It's getting
Right.
worse.
Right. Crazy. So how has the quarantine affected you as a parent, like with the homeschooling? I know you said the 18-year-old, was this his last year in high school?
Yeah, this was his last year of high school, and that was just really hurtful
That's
for them,
tough.
to have all
Right.
of their, they didn't experience what we got a chance to experience. Their whole prom was canceled.
Wow.
Graduation, they put that back all the way to December. They were looking forward to, their grad bash at Disney World. That got canceled. It's
Wow.
just, they had like a little drive-through thing, but there's nothing like gathering and having a traditional graduation with a traditional prom like what we had. So,
Right.
that
It's a
I'm
milestone.
sure, yeah, that is a milestone, and they will forever remember this as, the year
Mm-hmm.
the coronavirus destroyed everything. That it destroyed our milestone. We didn't get an
Right.
opportunity to do that. So, I've talked to my son about it, and I just try to watch him and watch his behavior. I mean, he says he's okay with it, but I know deep down inside him and his friends are not okay with everything that just happened. But it is what it is. It's just
Yeah.
these are kids that were born when the Twin Towers blew up, and now 18, 19 years later, they're dealing with another tragedy all over again with this coronavirus pandemic. And I also have a 10-year-old, and she's 10-year-old going on 40, I guess. she's very she's pretty much she suffered from it too. She didn't want to leave her friends, and
Yeah.
the whole homeschooling thing was, I would say, a disaster because they're not used to, they're not used to sitting in front of a computer all day
All
trying to
day,
do
right.
online homework. And then parents are stressed and having to work. And, thank God I have my parents here to help me. But, they're in their 60s and 70s. They're retired. They don't know anything about computers and having to,
Zoom
log
meetings.
on and help. Yeah, exactly. Zoom meetings and all this other stuff. They're not used to that. So, it was a struggle together to try to get the online thing. And I just feel sad for the teachers who were just forced into that situation
Yeah, no
of
warning.
having to prepare,
Yeah.
this online curriculum. And I feel like with the cases getting worse and our government's trying to force us to go back to school in August, it's going to be a disaster trying
Oh,
to keep up
absolutely.
with social distancing, especially with the class, with the number of children in classroom. It's just not, it's not feasible. It's not realistic. They're wanting kids to go back with these masks on. I mean, can you imagine a child keeping a mask on all day?
All day, right.
I
Every day.
can't.
For the
Every
whole
day,
year.
5 days a week. No, I can know that exactly. I mean, I have to wear a mask a whole 12 hours at work.
Right.
So I can't, and I'll be about to suffocate then. So I can't imagine. Exactly. I mean, the only time I get to take my mask off is for my 30-minute lunch break, if I do
I'm
even
about to
get
say to
one.
eat. That's
But
it. Right. Yeah.
yeah,
If you
exactly.
even
I
get
mean,
it.
just exactly if I can get it, because it's hard out here. But you can't expect children to do that, and then teachers are already stressed out. It's just it really is a lot. It's too much, and it's just wreaking havoc on our nation. Period.
Right. So how has this pandemic affected you as a business owner, as an author, your brand? Because so many authors do expos throughout the year. So many of them have been canceled. They do readings, public speaking events. Obviously, all that stuff has been canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So have you been affected?
Yes, I have been affected. I was actually supposed I released my book in February, Mind Under Troubled Waters. I was actually supposed to do a book launch in March, but down here in Florida where I live at, they started, so the businesses started shutting down, you know, their places where you can host the parties and stuff at. So all of that got canceled, and then people were afraid to be around other people. They didn't want to come out and be within a large group of people. So you really can't expect that, and I really don't blame them for that, because we really didn't know the detriments of the coronavirus until basically it was too late. I mean, I just think we, as a nation, did not get on top of this like we should have.
Right.
But yeah, that has really affected me. But I'm still selling a few books here and there, which is I'm thankful for that. I'm still advertising. I'm just trying to get myself put out there, and that's why I'm just thankful for Brittany Miller for this opportunity to speak about my book and to get myself out there. Social media can be, it is a powerful tool. It can, in a positive and in a negative way. So I'm just thankful that I still have people that are interested in my book. Hopefully, once everything clears, I can have an official, book release party. But
absolutely.
Yes.
And shout out to the Brittany Miller brand. Just brought her up. You know what I mean?
She
Killing it,
is
doing
awesome.
her thing.
Yep, she is. She is an awesome individual, and I am so blessed to be able. I did some freelance. Well, I was doing freelance writing for her, and I just decided to, take a dive leap of faith and just put my trust in her to, get myself, my image out there more. And I'm so grateful for everything that she has done for me so far. And I've only been with her for 2 weeks, and I already, I'm seeing a lot of, more engagement with people following me on my social media platforms, and I'm just grateful and appreciative of that.
That's dope. So when did your writing journey begin?
I've always written, poems and short stories. When I was a little girl, I love to read. That's something I got from my dad. My dad's an avid reader, and so I picked that up from him. And yes, my dad reads all kinds of books, newspapers, magazine articles, and I picked that up from here. And that's something that you really don't see, in little kids now. And I'm just trying to, bridge my daughter over into to have a love of reading also. But I love to read, and I love to write. I've always written poems. I've always written short stories, little scenarios and everything. And that's where my love of reading and writing came from. And as I got older, I wanted to make a career out of that. And I was also interested in nursing. Like I said, my mother was a nurse, has been a nurse for years. She's retired now. And I wanted to, I really want to make a career out of writing, but I got nervous, mainly because, I come from a small town, and people expect you to do, something that's really great. And, a lot of people were just kind of frowned upon, a writing field. Oh, you'll never be successful in that. You need to do this, or you need to follow this type of path. And, I was kind of fooled that way. I was fooled that way. I took a path where I didn't want to make my parents upset. I just stopped writing, for a little while, even when I was in school, while I focused on, going into that traditional college thing of biology, pre-med, or stuff like that. Well, life happens. I got pregnant with my son, my junior year in college. So I moved back home, and I that's when I decided to pursue, a nursing career. I started out as a CNA. I was CNA for 6 years. Then I went on and got my LPN license. I was got pregnant with my daughter while I was in LPN school. So I finished school and had her while I was in school, saying,
Oh, really?
people were just, I mean, I look back on that and I'm like, God kept me the whole time, because
Right.
that's really something to come over. And then I just went on and got my RN degree, and that's where I'm at right now. And just working in the medical field, you have to have an outlet. The stuff that you see day in, day out, it gets stressful to you. And so you have to find ways to relieve yourself of that, or to get away from that type of reality. And that's when I started back picking up, my writing. I did some poems. I started drawing back a little bit. And that's where I pretty much got the idea to write my book, after dealing with a particular patient, African American male, who was 23 years old and was just put on dialysis. And I mean,
wow.
yes. So that itself is devastating, to be 23 years old and having end-stage renal disease, going on dialysis. And as African Americans, we have been taught to not show our feelings, to not not to be so vocal about our issues and our mental health. A lot of people in our community think that mental health is a sign of weakness,
Right.
or a mental diagnosis is a sign of weakness. And a lot of people don't seek help for that. They'd rather go, to church, or they depend on some kind of faith, which there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But there's other avenues
Absolutely.
that we have, there's other options. And I mean, you have to get, you have to seek some other help outside of the religious aspect of mental health. And the issue with that is, not only do we have that stigma in our community, we're also stagnant, or by just the fact that there's a lot of healthcare workers who don't take our issues seriously. I mean, there's so many disparities. There's so many disparities in healthcare where Black people do not receive the kind of care, the kind of help, the insurance that they don't need. And it's because most of our African American communities live under the poverty level, where we don't have health insurance, where we don't have access to mental health, and those type of therapies. It's just we're working 9 to 5 for pennies, and we just can't. We're not able to. And then the discrimination that we deal with and the racism that we deal with on top of that just makes our mental illnesses worse. We're always labeled as being angry or aggressive, or having all of these attitudes, but you don't take the time to actually get down to the root of the problem. And it stems back from, slavery days. We were taught not to show emotion. We would get in our behinds, be out there in the cotton fields and getting smacked around, or our women being raped, our men being tortured and sodomized. We were still expected to do what we were forced to do and not show any type of emotion. And that has just carried on still into our communities into 2020. And I think that's sad. It really is sad. And so, I may sound like I'm ranting, but this is very passionate to me, because I see this a lot in all of my, especially my African American patients. And I really think that, once you have good mental health, your whole physical being changes. You take better care of yourself. You do what needs to be done to have optimal health. And I really think that's important that we address the stigmas and the taboos of stuff that goes on in our community. But
Right.
so it's just and that's what made me write that book, because this young man that I encountered tried to commit suicide. And you know, all of the other doctors were like, well, you just need to do this and you just need to do that. And, you know, that's not that's not how you get to the root of the problem. You need to actually take the time to talk to the person, find out what's going on with them, and get him the help. And, you know, and as a nurse, as a healthcare worker, I have to advocate for my patients. And that's what I did. I've got him the mental health and got him into the mental institute that he really needed, the mental resources that he needed to overcome this and to take better care of himself, not only mentally but physically.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That is amazing. Now going back to when you first, like you said, when you first developed that passion for writing, although your journey has taken you to a successful career path, how are you able to push through that negativity and that doubt of writing wasn't the answer at that point in terms of career-wise, and to the point now where you get to it?
Well, it just kind of, I had an awakening moment for myself. I have always been the type of person where I was always concerned about what people thought about me.
Right.
And,
a lot of people.
you know, a lot of people were there. And I was up in that age, even as, you know, way beyond into my adult years. I was just nervous about what other people would think of me, or how I would be judged by other people. And then, you know, I got into this mode afterwards where I was into a relationship that didn't work out. And so, you know, I guess just having that happen to me, I was just at the point, I was like, you know, to hell with it. I don't care what people think. This is what I'm going to do. This is where I am at in my life right now. I mean, the older I got, my tolerance for foolishness just got less and less. So I just decided, I said, forget it. I'm just going to do what I want to do, what I've always dreamed about, what I'm passionate about. And so and that's where it all started. And that started back in 2018, because that's when I started writing the book. I mean, I was still going back and forth with my decision to go on to get my bachelor's degree in nursing, which I do plan on doing, but it's just not something that I'm going to work on right now, because I'm really passionate about, you know, my writing career. So I got through to a young lady named Odessa White, and she owns her own publishing company and mentoring company based out of Philadelphia, and that's who I hooked up with. I just happened to see her on Instagram, and so she really pushed me and encouraged me to come out of that shell to, you know, execution over excuses. That's basically her motto, and that's the model that I started following for myself and my life. And so I was able to push through and write this book in 4 months.
Now, were you surprised? Because 4 months, that's quick. That's real good.
That is quick. Yes.
How do you stay focused, especially for people like me that get writer's block and procrastination kicks in? How do you stay focused enough to get it done?
I pretty much stay focused. See, with my thing is, with dealing with two kids that were in school, at the time I was writing this, I would, it's a lot of late nights, early mornings. I would wait for them to go to sleep. And that's when I started writing my book. And on days that I had to get up, early in the morning to go to work, I would get up like 2 hours before I had to be to work and just write some more. That
Oh,
was
really?
my focus. Yeah, so it was rough. I mean, having to get up so early, but that's how I was able to focus on getting writing my book, getting the ideas down and getting the book written, in a short amount of time that I did.
I thought, what was your original goal? You wrote your book.
My original goal is to just reach out to people to break the stigma of mental illness in the Black community, especially amongst our teenage boys and girls, because teenage years are just hell for them. They're going through those hormones, they're going through those changes. You got peer pressure from your other friends to do this, to do that.
Yep.
To you're making friends, you're creating friends, or you're trying to impress. You're doing stuff to impress other people. I mean, it's very stressful, and that can be mentally exhausting on teenagers. And that's what my book is about. It's based on a Black teenage basketball player who suffers from mental issues. He has my main character, Thomas, he has a father who's very, demanding, or in this case, he was a former NBA player himself, and he's very demanding on his son, following in his footsteps and going to the NBA himself. But the son is just, he wants more out of life than just basketball. He really wants to go to school and focus on, mental health, and because he has a brother in the book, Manny, who suffers from autism. So he's very interested in, being a counselor to those children in those situations. But, he's feeling all this pressure from his father, from his friends, to be this great NBA basketball player. And so he has a hard time coping with that. So he finds other ways to cope with that instead of talking to someone about it. And so it's just important that we reach this book, and the topics of the book just reach out to our young people who may be going through the same issues that Thomas is going through in this book.
Right. Now the book is titled Mind Under Troubled Waters. I'm gonna read the synopsis real quick for the listeners. Thomas Jenkins, aka Big T, desires to follow in his father's footsteps of becoming an NBA player for the Atlanta Hawks. Interestingly, he is also intrigued with the life and evolving behaviors of his younger brother Manny, who suffers from autism. Torn between not wanting to disappoint his overbearing father, Thomas struggles to make a decision between being a professional player and focusing on his education, eventually wanting to become a counselor for children with disabilities. In addition to his personal problems, outside forces are determined to see that Thomas doesn't make it in the NBA, let alone college. It seems that no one, not even his passive mother, seems to understand his frustration. The pressure of life becomes too much for him as he engages in behavior that could possibly end his basketball career and his life. Now, first things first, that book cover. I want you to break this cover down for me, because I'm looking at a Black man that's falling underwater. He's wearing basketball attire, but he only has on one sneaker. He has a basketball in one hand, a book in the other hand. He also has a noose around his neck, bleeding from the head. There seems to be so much meaning behind every inch of the cover. Can you break it down for us?
Yes. Okay, so first of all, I would love for you and everybody else to get this book, because in the book, I just don't only address mental issues. I also address a lot of things that happen in our community that we've come complacent to. And one of the things that I've addressed is incest. I've addressed rape. And I've also addressed, sometimes the lack of support from the church community. So pretty much the title of the book or the cover of the book relates to those outside forces, those family secrets that Thomas family has. And it comes down to a boiling point at the end where, he those forces that I mentioned earlier, or that you mentioned earlier, were trying to may possibly end his life or end his career. That's what that cover of the book signifies. Like he's wanting to, him holding the book like he's in the basketball, like he's torn between his basketball career and he's torn between, a career as a counselor for children with disabilities. So that was the reason why I had that drawn that way. And the noose around his neck just symbolizes, someone trying to end his life where they don't want him to do neither one of those. They don't want him to succeed. They don't want him to be successful because of the type of person that he is and the determination that he has to overcome or try to overcome, his issues. But if you also look at the cover, you'll see little blue dots that represents the very thing that he's doing to try to cope with his mental issues, because he can't talk about it, or he has a hard time expressing it because he has a father who does not believe, mental health, mental illness is a problem.
Right,
He has a passive mother who just doesn't, really, she's just there, she's just, and then, the brother, and, it just seems like nobody cares about getting his brother the type of help that he needs for, his autism. So, he has so many battles going on with his personal life. And that's what I wanted to, reflect in this cover. I mean, I know it's a little deep for people to understand, but once they read the book, they will know why the cover of that book is what it is.
Right, and you did that, and I think that cover stood out to me because it looks so much like art. You know what I mean? That's a cover you will put on a shelf, and it's art basically. If you took that cover, you blew it up, made it a painting. That's something that symbolizes so much of our community, so many people in our community, and what they go through. That's why it's so unique. I love it. Who designed the cover?
Thank you. Excuse me, I'm kind of tongue tied here. My mentor, the Odessa, she had someone to design. I wish I could tell you his name, but I don't know. I would definitely have to get that information back to you. But he's the one who, she had a graphic designer to actually design the cover, because, this was basically my idea. He just kind of put it into a drawing. Right. So this is my thinking. Yes.
Now, what was that feeling when you first saw your cover? Like when you first saw your idea come to life?
I was just floored. I was amazed because I literally started crying because, everything that I put into this book, and I put a lot into this book, and basically this cover just pretty much expresses, and it kind of sums up everything that the whole story in a picture.
Now, the one thing that stood out when I started diving into this book, Manny, and obviously he's an autistic young
Yeah.
man, but the encounters he has, even from the opening, from chapter 1, when he has his encounter with his brother Thomas, and then he has the encounter once Thomas takes him out, and then the encounters with the friends, how they're treating him both positive and negatively, the things that are being said around him and about him.
Mm-hmm.
Why was that important? Because I think that was very deep, especially for people who don't understand and who don't have that much interaction with people with autism. I think this book really does a very good job of describing the encounters and their experience.
Well, that's what I wanted to touch on because, a lot of people don't understand autism. People think that, autistic children meet this certain, they have to meet or behave or meet this certain criteria. And that's, autism comes in many different spectrums. And, you have you have people with autism that can still speak, that can still talk, they can still, they're still productive in society. And then you have those who are nonverbal, like Manny was in the book, who still have their, their mental, their sensory breakdowns. So just like there's, a broad, just like there's more to the Black community than just athletes, rappers, media personalities. There's more to people with disabilities and specifically autism than just, are your nonverbal kids, those who act out, they come in different. And I think it's just important that we recognize that and we don't discriminate against, disability of children with disabilities based on what perception, society has about them, just like, society may perceive us, stereotypes within the African American community. It was really important for me to touch on that. And I hope I did a good job with that.
Oh, you definitely did.
I'm just really thankful for, I really feel like God really spoke to me right in this book because I'm just amazed at, I read it over and over again. I'm just, I'm finding out a little bit more about myself and what I'm capable of doing.
Right.
And, just having people to really understand. I'm hoping that, people really understand the depths of this and, what's going on in this book is parallel to what happens to what's going on in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So once you created this story, you hooked up with the team you built, got your cover design, got the book published. Once you received your first physical copy, explain the emotions that you went through.
Oh, it was just so emotional. I think my daughter was more emotional than I was because she was the one who opened the the one who opened the box first. Yes, and she held the books and she wanted me to take pictures of her with the books. So that's what I did. And if you go on my social media page, you'll see where she was with the books, but it was just so emotional for me. And it was when I first posted on Facebook, when I put it, it was just heart-wrenching that so many people wanted a copy right there, and I didn't order enough copies, but I sold out all of them that same day.
Oh,
but,
wow.
People have just been so supportive of my books and, the message that I'm trying to get out. But to just sit there and hold your own book, you look at it and like, wow, I did this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did this just, and, all this hard work and, tears and everything, just so much emotion. And then you you're holding your masterpiece, and that's what I feel like this is to me. This is my first book. This is my masterpiece, and I'm just grateful and I'm proud of the work that I've done to get to this point, and the support that I've had.
Mm. So how is life as an indie author? How's the industry treating you?
It's amazing, and I mean, I just try to I'm a part of a lot of author groups and stuff on Facebook and Instagram. The support has just been great, albeit all of the coronavirus thing going on.
Right,
So
right.
I'm just really ready to step things up and promote myself more, and just have people to get to know me not only as a person but as an author. I mean, it's a blessing to be able to say that I'm an author, writing this book, and just it's mind blowing to me how everything just came, not not with my timing, but with God's timing.
Right.
And I just feel that everything, all of the ups and downs on this journey, everything happens for a reason. I'm just thankful that I'm at the place in my in my life right now, even with the whole coronavirus thing. So there's always a silver lining in every cloud. So
Absolutely.
I'm thankful for everything.
What is one piece of advice you would give to an aspiring writer, someone who's out there who has the passion, who has the love for writing, but they're on the fence? What's one piece of advice you would give them?
I would just tell them to take that leap of faith, jump, go for it. That's that direct leap of faith. That's what I had to do, not only to break myself out of that chain of just not just depression, but so being so worried about what other people think. But you have to do it for yourself. You have to live your life the way you see fit, and whatever you want to do, you always have to put 100% into it. You may not have your close friends or your family members that will support you in the beginning, but you have a whole lot of strangers, and that's where I'm feeling the love at right now. I mean, I do have few family members and friends, but it's the love of people that I've never, would everything I would encounter that's been supportive of me, and I'm just thankful to Odessa Brittany. I know another little author that I follow on Instagram. She just bought my book a couple of days ago. It's a support of outside forces that's just it's a beautiful thing, and the 4 close friends that I do have, they've always supported me from the beginning. They still have, they still will, just like I support them in their business. So it's just taking a leap of faith.
Right.
You doing your best, and God will meet you the rest.
So screenwriting, where the interest for screenwriting coming at and being a director?
I've always, I'm actually working on that right now.
Really?
There's a guy, yes, I'm working on that right now. J.D. King is a guy based out of here, Orlando, Christian. He owns his own, Christian, production company, Free Souls. And I just, I reached out to him. All I want to do was just come on the set with him to see how, a recording of a video or a movie works, because that's what I eventually want to get into. And not only did he give me the opportunity to write 3 scripts, I'm actually going to be directing all 3 movies for these scripts.
Oh,
so
wow.
It just, yes, it's mind-blowing. Like, thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's just mind-blowing how, to me, God puts he puts people in your path, for certain reasons, and I'm thankful for it. I just got finished writing my first script, Lift, and I already got the 2 characters and just 2 main characters, and so we're supposed to be starting filming in a couple of weeks. So I'm grateful for that. And my other 2 movies, I'm about to finish writing those, and we're going to be filming those really soon. So shout out to JD, and I'm just so thankful for him for allowing God to lead his path, direct his path, and to give him the insight to allow me to even do this with no type of experience, someone coming from a nursing field into a whole nother, spectrum of life. It's just, it's amazing. And I'm just blessed for every opportunity, and I'm definitely not going to take it for granted. I'm just grateful.
Now, how was that transition for you from writing a novel to writing a screenplay? Because it's so different. How was that transition?
It is. It's very different. And I'm still, trying to get the hang of writing a transcript. But I have met, some amazing people along the way who have, are giving me tips on how to write on how to write a screenplay and how to put, those type of things, because it is totally different. It's a total different, vibe with that. So I'm learning, and I'm glad to be surrounded by people who have just been really patient and very knowledgeable and, successful in their own right, just showing me the ropes of the film and directing industry. So I'm just really grateful for that.
Right. Now, can we expect to see Mind Under Troubled Waters hitting the big screen for you?
Oh, definitely. Yes. I'm going to speak that into existence.
There we go.
I definitely would love to see. I mean, any author would love to see their book turned into, a movie, and I'm definitely looking forward to mine being up on the big screen.
Absolutely.
So I'm just, yes.
So besides all these, you got so many amazing things going on. So besides, obviously,
I know.
Yeah, right. So besides, obviously, planning the launch and working on the films, what else can we expect from you?
A whole lot. I'm actually getting ready to start a photography class next month with Shooters Camp out of Atlanta. So I'm just really trying to gain more knowledge about my craft and perfect it. So I will definitely be hopefully I'll probably be starting my own videography business soon. You just don't know. You never know with me. I'm kind of just versatile.
Right.
In that manner. And I thank God for, the talent that he's blessed me with, and I'm going to use that as long as I'm on this earth. And I'm just thankful for that.
Now tell everybody where they can order the book at, where they can find you on social media, how they can get in contact with you.
Okay. So, my social media handle is, on Instagram is Sarah Carmele, and they can go to www.amazon.com/Sarah McGriff. That takes you directly to my website where you can purchase my book. They can look me up on Facebook under Sarah Carmele McGriff. They can look me on Twitter under S Carmele, and I use all 3 social media platforms. So it's just or they can, if anybody wants to reach out to me or invite me for a interview, they can also go on at Mrs. Brittany Miller under Instagram, and that's my publicist. So they can reach out to her, or they can look on my page. I do have a link to her page on my Instagram site. So,
all right, this has been the Fiction Addiction Podcast, and that was Sarah McGriff. Sarah, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Fiction Addiction Podcast. Make sure you visit fictionaddictionpodcast.com for links on everything we talked about today, as well as awesome resources, additional tips, and fiction addiction merchandise.